Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to review Abigail. And I will say this, if you haven't seen my other video explaining why, my voice is a little off because yesterday I was filming a sequence for my movie in which the character did a voice, and doing the voice is very strenuous on the vocal cords. So I don't know how long this will be. I'm actually filming this the same day that I filmed the old man reviews. Review. It's just one video. Anyways, I am here to play a little catch up because I'll admit I am behind as usual. That's just how it is with reviewing. Like, honestly, I can't keep up with everything that comes out. Like, there's so much stuff that comes out and I forget about a lot of stuff too, and then all of a sudden it comes out, I'm like, oh yeah. And this is one of those movies that I probably should have seen when it came out. However, I will say this. This is another strange thing to me of like, when was this released? April? Early April? Like, I think that was a really strange time to release this movie. They did the same thing last year, and I remember it because I was having a medical issue last year, and I saw Renfield, and it came out around the time I was having that medical issue or just started to have that issue. And it's weird that, like, this year they had another vampire movie come out in April for no reason at all. Like, April is not the vampire month. April is the prelude to May, and May is the prelude to June. And so that is probably one of the first things I'll say about this movie is that I really wish that it came out in October. This would have been the perfect October movie. In fact, I don't even think that there's really any more big horror releases that are coming out for the rest of the year, which is really just insane to me. I mean, you got Alien, you got Trap, that crappy Long Legs. All of those should have come out in October, or at least one or two of them. This movie especially, because this movie has a very fun Halloween-y vibe. Like, I would say out of all the horror movies this year, God, I sound terrible, I know, but out of all the horror movies this year, I think that Abigail would be the number one movie to watch on Halloween. If you wanted to watch a 2024 horror movie, that is. And let's get into the movie. So I gotta say, I really, really, really liked the movie a lot. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I was kind of turned off from watching the movie because they spoiled the big twist in the trailer. The twist is, the story is, before we get to the twist, because the twist happens about halfway through the movie. Yeah, so that was a terrible, terrible decision to reveal that in the trailer. I hope whomever edited the trailer got fired, because that's just really bad. But then again, like, it would have been a little hard to market this movie just based on the other stuff that happens leading up to it, because basically the story starts off as like this gang of people. You know, they're really weird people. You got some weird characters here, and they conspire to kidnap this little ballerina girl and hold her hostage in this mansion until her father pays them some money, about $50 million, and they have to hold her there for 24 hours. And needless to say, things turn sour pretty quickly, and people are starting to get killed off for some reason, and they're like, what the hell is going on? And then it's like, oh, it's Abigail, and she's a vampire. That's the big surprise. And I would say that the biggest problem with trying to market this movie is that if people don't like vampire movies, I don't think they're going to like this movie. Because, like, I'm a big vampire guy. I mean, my all-time favorite movie is Fright Night. I love vampire movies. We're going to be reviewing all of the Hammer Dracula movies this October. We're going to be reviewing the Salem's Lot movies. I love vampire movies. I don't know what it is about them. It's probably some kind of subconscious thing because of my past life deal. I don't know. But, like, I think that people who are just, like, general horror fans would just be really, like, lukewarm about this movie. And that's what it kind of turned into, too, is, like, you look everywhere where people review this movie, and it's always, like, 3 out of 5, 7 out of 10. That's just, like, yeah, it's a mid-grade movie. But for someone who really likes vampire movies, I really think that you'll love this movie because it's a lot of fun. And I know that sometimes people use the word fun in like a patronizing way where they're like, yeah, it was a kids movie. It was fun. I had a lot of fun with Ant-Man 3, speaking of Bugs Bunny, who is in this movie. It's like, no, I genuinely had fun with this movie. It was such a perfect, like, relaxing evening movie. I could just, I can't wait to do my food review because it's like, it's pretty simple and it's pretty straightforward. It's like, yeah, that's what this movie is, all right. And so it has a lot of blood and gore too. That's another thing I loved about the movie. Let's kind of talk about, before we get into the characters, let's just talk about how vampires are in this movie. One of the flaws that I will say is that after a certain point, and this is going to be spoilers, by the way, after a certain point, it sort of turns into like, oh, are you a vampire? Oh, she's a vampire. Oh, he's now a vampire. Oh, he's a vampire now too. It's like everyone's a vampire. And that's why I loved Melissa Barrera and her character, because she was the one who never gets turned into one. Or a couple of them didn't, but towards the end, I mean, it was like everyone was becoming a vampire except for her. And that's what I kind of loved about her character, is that, like, yeah, she is clearly the final girl, but there was so much danger for her character. She barely got out of the movie alive. It really, really felt like a good, like, way to have a final girl in a movie. Because I despise final girls, because I feel like when you watch a horror movie and you know who the final girl is, it's not a fun experience. Like, you know who's going to survive. Like, that's not fun. However, in this movie, they really managed to make things interesting. And so I'll give them credit on that for sure. But the vampires themselves, sometimes their powers are lesser or more depending on what the plot requires. So, like, there are certain points where Abigail, she'll get overpowered pretty easily by another character who just got turned into a vampire 2 seconds ago. And then vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, there are a lot of... It reminded me a little bit of Infinity War, where the power scaling was completely off, but it wasn't terrible. Like, I would still say, like, the vampires in this movie were pretty cool. I really liked how at the end, how things turned out with like this three-way fight between Abigail and Melissa Barrera, and then Dan Stevens, the Beast, from Beauty and the Beast, and Charles Dickens and The Man Who Invented Christmas. His vampire, he was really naive, and he thought he was just going to be able to, quote-unquote, do cool shit from the very beginning, and that's what I loved about that as well, is that, like, it takes time for a vampire to really refine their powers and learn how to do everything correctly. You can't just be completely badass right off the bat, like some movies make it seem. And so that's another thing, is this movie really tried to, once again, twist the mythology around and twist things, shake things up about vampires. Like, garlic doesn't do anything in this movie. Crosses don't do anything. I mean, it's almost like vampires are practically undefeatable. Like, it's really, really tough to fight a vampire in this movie. And I think that that's another thing about the movie that really helps it, because if they were weakened by garlic and crosses, etc., holy water, well, they couldn't get holy water. They were trapped in this mansion. But I think if they could do all those things, the movie probably would have been over in like 30 minutes. 30 minutes or less. And then, yeah. But that's another thing, is that when you see that they're trapped in this mansion, I'm kind of claustrophobic, and I got really claustrophobic inside this mansion. Like, I love movies that take place, number one, in one night or one day, or movies that take place in one location. And this movie does both. And I was feeling so claustrophobic by the end of the movie. I was like, ugh, I just want to, get out of there, And I was so glad at the end when finally you get to see the outside of the mansion again. I was like, oh, thank God. Like, seriously. Now I guess we should get into the characters. First off, as I already mentioned before, Melissa Barrera, she's like a candy addict, druggie, former druggie, drug addict, and she's always eating candy throughout the entire movie. It's kind of funny, but she left this one lollipop in the van. And so I loved how at the end of the movie, she comes out, she's covered in blood, and she sucks on that little white lollipop. I don't even know what flavor that would be. Do any of you guys know? I mean, I have a guess of what it could be, but it's probably not the right answer, because I don't think they make those kinds of lollipops. So, but I could be wrong, though. They make a lot of weird things nowadays. But anyways, like, yeah, I loved her acting. I loved her character. She was a great final girl. And they really, the people who make the Scream movies now, they really screwed up and pissing her off, because she was like a big reason of why this movie was good. Like, if it wasn't Melissa Barrera, if it was Valissa Tamara or something, like, I don't know, like, but if it was anyone else but her, the movie would not have been as good. She completely made the role. She almost stole the show. And then you had Dan Stevens and his character. He was the typical, like, pain-in-the-ass character, like Cooper from Night of the Living Dead. I loved his character. I thought that he did a great job, too. It was so surprising to see him in the whole movie, because, I don't know, I feel like, and I don't want to sound mean, but I feel like there's always those certain actors who are almost like above being in smaller movies, I guess you could say. Because this is like, I don't think this is like a big time horror movie, like, or I could be wrong, like, like Alien Romulus, for example. But the fact that he was in the whole movie, it was really surprising to me, just because I thought, like, I don't know. He was in that crappy Godzilla Kong movie for the whole thing, and I guess this movie made up for that, is what I'm saying too. Like, yeah, that was terrible, Dan Stevens. That was just awful. And then let's talk about the lead, the title character, Abigail. I thought that she was really good too. Her character was a really good villain for being a kid. I mean, I haven't really seen a lot of good kid villains recently in horror movies. I know obviously you have The Omen and you have The Kid in Pet Sematary, but that's just for a couple of minutes of the movie. But I thought that she did a really good job at being the lead vampire. I mean, God, I don't think I've ever seen like a good child vampire like movie. I know that there's that one. There's the forum one, and then there's the remake with Chloe Moretz. I've never seen that. And then I guess Salem's Lot has the kid vampire. Yeah, that was pretty good too. But still, I really liked Abigail too. Another person I'd like to mention, because I know I'm sounding a little like weird tonight, and it's just because of my voice, and my voice is kind of throwing me off, I gotta say. Like, I'm a little like scattered in these recent reviews because of that, and I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to go through all these people that I thought did a really good job, because Safi, on our 600 subscriber celebration, she acted like I don't like anything, which is just a complete and utter like fabrication. It's kind of like a misrepresentation of reality, because like statistically, I'm actually much more likely to like a movie than she is, or a TV show, either or. I've done the numbers. I've calculated it for each and every year that we've done the show. I calculated for like the overall from 2017 to 2024. And I am always more likely to like whatever we watch. So it's just completely hilarious. Like, and there's a lot of other people too, and they just think that I don't like anything, which is just a total lie. And so I'm completely dismantling that rumor in this video, because also Bugs Bunny was in this movie. If you guys don't know, Bugs Bunny is my nickname for the daughter from Ant-Man 3. Yeah. I was really, really pissed off at that movie, and I hated her in that movie. But wow, she was really good in this movie. She was kind of like a comedic side character. She was kind of a ditz. But I really, really enjoyed her performance, surprisingly. I love the part where they ask her to get garlic, and she brings out a bag of onions. I love the part where she becomes a vampire. She did a really good job playing a vampire and switching to a villainous character. And yeah, I really loved her in this movie. Like, I was surprised. And then also, I know some other people have said this before. There was another guy in the movie. He looked like a 7-foot tall Elon Musk or something. He played this kind of meathead, dim-witted henchman guy, and he actually did a surprisingly good job too. Another person who was in this movie, he actually died this year or last year. Angus Cloud in this movie was in memory of him, and I thought that he did good for the limited amount of screen time that he had. And then finally, Gus from Breaking Bad was in it. And, he did as good as he would have done, as you would have expected him to do. I gotta be honest, though. I saw Gus from Breaking Bad in a movie with Winona Ryder earlier this year, where he was like a guy who gets picked up in a cab by this old man who's got a lot of issues, and he did a really good job playing like a good person character. And I would really like to see him play good characters. Like, he did a great job playing Gus in Breaking Bad. He's done a good job playing villains in other movies like this, but I would really like to see him play more good characters. Like, switch things up. I maybe play a good character in the next movie, and then in the next movie, play a genocidal maniac. I don't know, like, but like, switch things up, because you can only do the same thing so many times. And then let's see, what else should I talk about? Because I feel like I don't want to over talk about the movie. I mean, it's a very simplistic movie, and as I said, as it gets to a certain point, it does kind of become like, oh, that person got turned into a vampire. What now? Oh, that person got turned into one too. But overall, I love this movie. I had a lot of fun with it, as I said before. There were also a lot of good laughs in the movie that I got. I mentioned the onion bit earlier. And yeah, I'm not going to say that it's the greatest movie ever made. I'm not going to say it's a bad movie at all. I'm going to say it is a great movie. It's a great, fun movie. It's a good horror movie. It's a good vampire movie. And yeah, I would totally recommend this movie, surprisingly. People really kind of undersell it. And maybe it's because of the trailer. Because the trailer ruined everything. They ruined the twist. But, even with the trailer. Like, I saw the trailer. I knew what the twist was, but I still loved the movie. So, in terms of food, as I said before, this movie just reminds me of like a Friday evening where you get a Papa John's pizza, or you get a pizza out and you have your pizza and movie type of experience. Like, this movie is just a completely fun, chilled Friday evening experience. And let's just pretend that you're done with the movie. You're done with your pizza. Well, then you're going to put in Call of Duty Black Ops 3. You're going to play Shadows of Evil. You're going to drink more soda than you should. And I do not know why I went on this tangent. But no, I'm just painting the picture, and I'm just giving you guys the experience so you know what I mean. So you know why I'm rating this movie a nice pizza. This movie is like a nice pepperoni pizza with a lot of pepperoni, really well made. Hopefully not from Papa John's then, because Papa John's makes terrible pizza. They make cardboard pizza. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say about Abigail. Go watch this movie. I would recommend it for sure. Please like this video, comment, and tell me what you thought of Abigail. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews. Bye, everybody. See you soon.